A security camera recorded the moment when the young woman, Yoon, left an apartment carrying a suitcase. She appeared to be in a good mood, displaying expressions of joy and relaxation. The captured scene draws attention for Yoon's confident posture and cheerful demeanor, suggesting that she was in a moment of satisfaction or personal fulfillment as she walked away. Initially, the scene seemed like a trivial record, like many captured by security cameras on a regular day. Yoon, carrying a suitcase and showing a satisfied expression, would not raise suspicion upon casual observation. However, when analyzing the situation more deeply, elements begin to emerge that challenge the normalcy of the scene. Questions accumulate as the scene is revisited, revealing a complexity that previously went unnoticed. Yoon's apparent contentment contrasts with the strangeness of the moment, raising unsettling hypotheses about what might have happened before and after she was filmed. The curiosity was great to know what was in that suitcase, and most importantly, what was Yoon's role in all of this. However, the reality behind this recording is alarming. The young woman identified as Yoon was involved in a brutal crime. Inside the suitcase, she carried were the remains of a woman whom Yoon had taken the life of in a repugnant manner. During the long days of interrogations, psychiatric evaluations, and the subsequent trial, disturbing details began to emerge about the story behind this crime. Gradually, the puzzle involving Jung Yoo Jeong, the accused, was pieced together, revealing a life trajectory filled with deep frustrations, feelings of abandonment, and disturbing obsessions that shaped her behavior. What initially seemed like an innocent search for a hobby, something so common among young people trying to fill emotional gaps, turned into something much darker. The thin line between passion and obsession was crossed, starting a spiral of thoughts and actions that would culminate in tragedy. Yoon's obsession became an uncontrollable force, clouding her rationality and pushing her down an irreversible path. Investigations revealed that Yoon had a history of isolation and difficulty dealing with rejection. These seemingly small elements were the fuel for a psychological fire that silently grew. The peak of this internal collapse came with a crime that shocked not only South Korea but the world, due to the brutality and complexity of its motivations. The trial was more than a legal event. It became a space to explore the shadows of the human mind. The details of the case exposed not only the severity of Yoon's acts but also broader issues about mental health, social abandonment, and the devastating impact of unresolved feelings. What could have been just a story of overcoming or reinvention became a horror tale that left a deep mark on society. This case represents an intriguing and dark enigma, revealing years of silence and dangerous thoughts that constantly permeated Yoon's mind. The events that took place on that fateful night unfolded in the port city of Busan. Busan, the second largest city in South Korea, stands out as a vibrant and diverse urban center, attracting those seeking a rich cultural experience. Renowned for its magnificent beaches, bustling fish markets, and majestic mountains, this metropolis in the southeast of the country is affectionately referred to as the summer capital of South Korea. Annually, the city receives millions of tourists, both domestic and international. Among its various attractions, Haeundae Beach stands out, famous for its long stretch of white sand and crystal-clear waters, providing an ideal refuge during the warmer months. Busan, where Yoon was born, marked the beginning of her life, but her childhood was not easy. This context can be considered the origin of a tragedy that would unfold 20 years later. When Yoon was only 2 years old, her parents divorced. Although this was not an uncommon event, her mother abandoned her, and she never heard from her again. This absence left an indelible mark on her memory and shaped her personality. However, this episode was just the beginning of her despair. At 6 years old, her father was imprisoned, and Yoon had no choice but to move to her grandfather's house. This transition, though difficult, did not prevent her from appearing as a seemingly normal child. In childhood, she had a best friend and showed interest in sports. However, the arrival of adolescence deeply impacted Yoon, who began to show evident problems with confidence and self-esteem. At school, she did not interact with her peers, being considered invisible. She avoided group activities and went to the extreme of hiding in the waiting room during breaks, behind a curtain, so she could eat alone and avoid any interaction. What initially seemed like a rare moment of joy quickly turned into a new chapter of dark uncertainties. The release of her father, which many expected to be a reason for celebration and reconstruction, brought with it an unexpected weight. The unspoken words and tense looks indicated that something deep remained hidden, as if the man's freedom carried more secrets than relief. As the days passed, the The atmosphere around the family became increasingly oppressive. Small gestures and prolonged silences suggested that the shadow of the past hung over them more intensely than ever. The release, instead of soothing the wounds, seemed to have unearthed memories and truths that could be as devastating as the imprisonment. The question that no one dared to ask lingered in the air. What had really been brought back with him? A few months later, he visited Yoon on her birthday, bringing a cake and flowers, and at that moment, Yoon felt that things could change. However, her father took the occasion to announce that he was in a new relationship and planning to marry soon, seeking to rebuild his life. The problem was that Yoon, now older, was not included in these new plans. In an outburst of frustration, Yoon threw the cake and flowers in her father's face, a reaction that, although understandable given the circumstances, reflected deeper emotional insecurity. In an act of desperation, she filed a false abuse report against her father, which proved to be unfounded. This event was the first indication that Yoon was facing serious difficulties in managing her emotions and responding proportionally to the situation she encountered, resulting in a rupture in her relationship with her father. However, she continued to live with her grandfather. During a phone conversation with her father, expressing her complaints about her grandfather's wife, she claimed that he mistreated her. Her father, in turn, disengaged from high school in June 2018 and spent 5 years unemployed. His attempts to find a job were frustrating due to a specific reason. The available positions required fluent English proficiency, a skill with which Yoon had always struggled. The pandemic was devastating for Yoon, leading her to further isolation, generating concern in her grandfather regarding her behavior, which led him to decide to consult a psychologist. However, Yoon categorically refused this help. From that moment, Yoon began to dispose of her personal belongings, especially those that represented good childhood memories and had emotional value for her grandfather. This behavior indicated that the young woman was in a deep state of depression. Her grandfather never imagined that his granddaughter could be in such a dangerous situation, something that became evident in July 2022, when, on a certain night, she set her grandfather's bed on fire. Fortunately, the man was awake and managed to prevent damage, but incredibly, he did not press Yoon to seek professional help and continued to live under the same roof, demanding that she focus on her studies for the public service entrance exam, which Yoon, however, failed to achieve. What began as a hobby turned into an obsession. She left the house every day but did not attend the library or any quiet place. She established a part-time job, but her neighbors believed she was in the library or another calm place, spending hours watching documentaries on criminal cases, films, and reading novels about serial killers. Her favorite movie, Wachika, dealt with crimes and identity theft. Something started to form in her mind, and it wouldn't be long before she decided to act. In May 2023, Yoon contacted several English tutors through an app, sending messages that appeared strange, asking if they lived alone. She received many negative responses but persisted until she was blocked or ignored. Finally, she found a tutor who agreed to meet her, pretending to be a concerned mother and requesting that the meeting take place at her residence. The tutor justified her presence by stating that her own residence was excessively noisy on May 26th. Yoon prepared for the meeting by cutting her hair and acquiring a school uniform, intending to present herself as a high school student. At 5:30 p.m., she arrived at the tutor's apartment, who received her without raising any suspicions about the choice of attire. This situation represented a strategic coincidence, as Yoon sought to gain her victim's trust and align herself with the false narrative she had devised, which consisted of a mother seeking academic support for her daughter. The tutoring department was located in the southern part of Busan, near the university. The woman, who was slightly older than John, was 26 years old and recognized for her excellent academic performance, being one of the highest rated on the app through which Yoon had made contact. The test of fire would be the woman's reaction to seeing Yoon dressed as a high school student. When she opened the door, she showed no signs of suspicion, inviting Yoon to come in. They both sat in the living room, where they began a conversation that, at first glance, seemed normal. However, the situation became disturbing when the woman offered Yoon something to drink. She suggested water or tea, but Yoon opted for a beer. The tutor reminded her that she was underage and therefore not allowed to consume alcohol. At that moment, Yoon made a disturbing statement. "I'm not underage, I'm 23 years old. I'm here to kill someone." The atmosphere became filled with an awkward and confused silence. The tutor thought the situation was a bad joke, not realizing the depth of the truth in the confession. Yoon smiled and claimed it was a joke, although the woman was unaware of that. She didn't know how to respond to the provocation, and Yoon didn't give her the opportunity to react. Abruptly, Yoon attacked her, wielding a kitchen knife she had brought. The attack was of unusual brutality, later confirming that Yoon delivered 111 blows to the tutor within 10 minutes. The savage attack, marked by its relentless brutality, was an expression of something much deeper than a simple homicidal act. The multiple stab wounds, meticulously concentrated on the torso, neck, and extremities, suggest repressed anger that found its outlet in an extreme act. The almost ritualistic violence indicated intense emotions, possibly related to resentments or latent fury, as if each blow carried hidden and personal meanings. Criminology experts highlight that attacks with such a high number of wounds usually occur in crimes where there is a direct relationship between the aggressor and the victim, often involving feelings of betrayal, rejection, or deep hatred. However, this case puzzled investigators. There was no known personal connection between Yoon and the tutor, adding an intriguing layer of mystery to the aggressor's motivation. What could have driven someone apparently unrelated to the victim to act with such intensity? Investigations began to delve into Yoon's mind, seeking clues in her behaviors, history, and relationships. Despite not knowing the tutor personally, hypotheses emerged that the attack might have been motivated by projection. Perhaps Yoon was facing internal battles or resentments directed at authority figures that, in some way, were channeled into that moment. Yoon's coldness during the interrogation only reinforced the complexity of uncovering what truly motivated her. This case raised broader questions about the role of unresolved traumas and psychological disorders in acts of extreme violence. For investigators, the absence of a direct connection between victim and aggressor turned the case into a dark puzzle. The answer seemed to be hidden in the lines of a conflicted mind, where the tutor, for reasons still unknown, became the target of anger that had clearly been brewing for a long time. After the attack, the young woman ensured that the victim had succumbed and began to execute the next phase of her plan. She dedicated herself to reading novels and researching through documentaries. The crime was meticulously prepared for subsequent developments, and Yoon, with absolute coldness, undressed and rummaged through the victim's closets in search of clean clothes. She cleaned the blood and, when she felt ready, proceeded discreetly. She left the apartment and returned to her residence to fetch a large suitcase. Additionally, she collected cleaning materials, gloves, and garbage bags. She then returned to the scene and began dismembering the body into manageable parts to fit into the suitcase. On the morning of June 27th, she called a taxi and asked the driver to take her to the park with the suitcase. However, the suitcase was excessively heavy for her, and the taxi driver had to help her put it in the trunk. The driver found the weight of the suitcase strange, as well as the moisture emanating from it. The lighting in the area was insufficient to identify the source of this moisture, but upon returning to the vehicle, he managed to verify that it was blood. Upon arriving at the park, instead of leaving, he observed that the young woman entered the trees and disappeared. Shortly after carrying the suitcase with ease, it became evident that she had disposed of something in the park. As a result, the taxi driver contacted the emergency number 112 and notified the police. Jung Yoo was arrested at 6 a.m. She pretended to be ill and was taken to the hospital, but this was a strategy to buy time and elaborate her narrative. During the interrogation, she claimed that she and her tutor were studying when they were attacked by an unknown individual. However, the evidence strongly indicated that she was lying. Subsequently, she changed her version of events, stating that the tutor attacked her during an argument, but this statement was also easily disproven. Finally, Yoon confessed that she had planned the murder months in advance, conducting internet research on murder methods and ways to hide. Additionally, she revealed that she had contacted over 50 tutors before finding the one who would become her victim. The young woman declared that her intention was to experience the sensation of committing a murder. Some experts suggested that she was trying to steal the victim's identity, copying the narrative of her favorite movie. During the trial, she tried to reduce her sentence by claiming mental problems. However, psychological evaluations did not confirm the presence of psychopathy. However, it is possible that the unconscious choice of the tutor was due to the fact that she represented everything Yoon was not. The theory was corroborated by the fact that Yoon had been a victim of identity theft. The court's verdict decreed a life sentence, although her original sentence was changed to the death penalty. Yoon Yoonan's case shook South Korea, provoking a comprehensive reflection on the effects of neglecting mental health and the impact of obsession on violent behaviors. The grandfather, devastated by the events, made a public statement of regret, while the girl's father denied any responsibility for the situation. Yoon faced the conviction, dealing with her feelings of loneliness. Jung's case should not be reduced to a mere obsession with true crimes or a morbid curiosity. It addresses deeper issues such as social isolation, neglect of mental health, and the possible normalization of violence in certain cultural contexts. While there is a growing fascination with true crimes in the entertainment sphere, blaming them for individual actions is a way to divert focus from more relevant aspects. Yoon's conviction is appropriate, but this case also highlights the importance of recognizing signs of disturbing behaviors before they turn into tragedies. The careful perspective of several experts emphasizes the need not to simplify complex issues. Yoon represents an extreme example of the convergence of personal and social factors that can lead to tragedies, not proof that interest in true crimes necessarily results in violence. Thank you so much for watching this story. Your presence and support are essential for me to continue creating quality content. So, if you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new episodes. Your subscription and comments are fundamental for me to keep bringing quality content. Leave your opinion in the comments, always with respect for the victims, and together let's build an even better community. Thank you so much for following my work, and I'll see you in the next episode.